Chicago just detonated the NFC North. Azeez Ojulari is now a Chicago Bear. It sounds like a headline torn straight from the future, but tonight it feels real, it feels alive, and it feels like the exact kind of move that could tilt this entire division on its head. Soldier Field won't just echo with roars from fans. Now it will tremble under the pressure of two edge rushers ready to redefine the Bears' identity. Welcome back to Bears News Fan Report, your home for breaking news, rumors, and the stories that keep this fan base buzzing. Do me a favor, smash that like button right now, subscribe if you bleed navy and orange, and tell me in the comments what this move means to you. Because this isn't just a roster shuffle, this is culture, this is statement, this is resurrection. Think about what Ojelari brings. Coming out of Georgia, he was touted as one of the most explosive natural pass rushers in his class. With the Giants, he showed flashes, bending the edge with frightening quickness, collapsing pockets, finishing plays when it mattered. Yes, injuries slowed his trajectory, but when healthy, his talent jumps off the screen. And now, lining him up opposite Montez Sweat, that's nightmare fuel for every quarterback who dares set foot in Soldier Field. For too long, Bears fans have begged for balance on the defensive line. We watched Sweat arrive last year and change everything. Suddenly, quarterbacks didn't feel safe. But every great rusher needs a partner, someone who forces offenses into impossible decisions. Do you double Sweat and leave Ojelari alone? Do you chip Ojelari and watch Sweat eat one-on-one? No matter what, someone loses. That's the kind of math Chicago hasn't forced on anyone in years. This isn't hype, it's logic. Ojelari is only 24 years old, entering his prime, and still has room to grow. Pair him with Sweat. Let him learn under a coaching staff desperate to unleash pressure. And you don't just get sacks, you get disruption. You get fear. You get an identity that screams monsters of the Midway 2.0. Imagine it. Green Bay week, Lambeau buzzing, Jordan Love trying to operate under pressure. On one edge, Montez Sweat collapses the tackle. On the other, Ojelari explodes around the arc, bending so low he nearly scrapes the turf. Love has nowhere to go. Sack. Drive over. Bears fans roaring in enemy territory, finally watching a defense that hunts again. Against Detroit, the division's reigning powerhouse, Jared Goff stands tall in the pocket until Ojelari slices inside, forcing a hurried throw that sails wide and straight into the arms of a ball-hawking safety. Against Minnesota, Kirk. Cousins can't escape as Ojelari and Sweat pinch the pocket like a vice, turning U.S. Bank Stadium into a chamber of chaos. These are the snapshots that make this move feel like destiny. But beyond the highlight reel, this is about culture. Chicago has always been built on grit, on toughness, on defense that punches first and asks questions later. For decades, the monsters of the Midway defined football identity through fear. Adding Ojelari isn't just filling a depth chart, it's reviving that legacy. It's putting opponents on notice that Soldier Field isn't just another stadium. It's a proving ground financially. This is the type of move Ryan Poles has been building toward. He's cleared cap space, made disciplined decisions, and set the table for a splash that transforms the defense. Ojelari's contract won't break the bank, especially compared to the value of edge rushers who can tilt games. This isn't throwing money at a problem. It's strategic investment in the most valuable currency in football, pressure, and strategically, the benefits are endless. With Sweat and Ojelari bookending the line, Eberflus can get creative with his fronts. Stunts, twists, simulated pressures, all suddenly more effective because the edges are locked down. Linebackers can flow freer, the secondary can gamble more, and the Bears' defense becomes something it hasn't been in years. Unpredictable. Opposing coordinators will spend sleepless nights figuring out how to keep their quarterbacks upright. And more often than not, they'll fail. But here's where the story bends, Bears Nation. As thrilling as this all sounds, as convincing as it feels, Azeez Ojulari in Chicago is not signed. Not official, not yet. This is speculation, whispers from league insiders, connections made by analysts, and the kind of rumor that grows legs because it makes too much sense. And doesn't it feel like it should already be done? Doesn't it feel like Poles has to make this call if he's serious about taking the next step? Think back to recent history. The Bears have seen what happens when they ignore the trenches. Justin Fields spent seasons running for his life behind crumbling pockets. Entire defenses collapsed because there wasn't enough edge pressure to finish plays. How many times did we watch close games slip away because quarterbacks had that extra second to throw? Too many. With Caleb Williams now under center, this franchise can't afford to make the same mistakes on defense. The offense may finally have a future, but without a defense to match, championships remain a mirage. That's why Ojelari resonates. He isn't just a player, he's an identity shift. He represents belief that the Bears can once again impose their will instead of react to others. He's young enough to grow with this core, hungry enough to fight for respect, and talented enough to change outcomes on Sundays. For Sweat, he's the partner that turns him from a lone star into the leader of a feared duo. For the secondary, he's the invisible helper, hurrying throws that turn into interceptions. For Bears Nation, he's hope given form, but hope and reality aren't the same. Right now, Ojelari in navy and orange is still a dream. Powerful, logical, intoxicating, but a dream nonetheless. And maybe that's exactly what makes it so compelling, because Bears fans know better than anyone how the line between rumor and reality can fuel an entire city. This isn't just the wild fantasy of chasing a washed-up superstar at the twilight of his career. This is different. This is blueprint. This is the careful, strategic kind of move winning franchises make when they want to shift their identity, when they want to prove that lessons from the past have been burned into memory. We've seen Chicago hesitate before. We've seen them choose the safe road, and too many times it led to heartbreak. Ojelari represents the opposite: boldness, belief, and the willingness to gamble on youth and fire, rather than settling for mediocrity. Think back to all the times the Bears came close but didn't have enough. Remember how the 2006 team reached the Super Bowl with a defense that terrified quarterbacks but lacked that one more hammer off the edge. Remember how Khalil Mack's arrival jolted the team into relevance overnight, yet he never had a true long-term partner to sustain the pressure? These are the ghosts that haunt Chicago's history, the stories fans replay every offseason when they wonder, what if we had just one more piece? Ojelari is the answer to those what-ifs. He is the type of addition that could stop us from saying almost, and finally let us say enough. And think of the symbolism. Chicago is a city built on hard work, on steel, on wind that cuts through bone, on fans who endure years of pain because they believe the payoff will taste sweeter when it finally arrives. Azeez Ojulari fits that narrative like a glove. He's not Hollywood flash, not a one-season rental. He's 24 years old, hungry, with scars from fighting through setbacks and still rising. That's the kind of story Chicago embraces, the kind of player who earns respect not by words, but by surviving, by proving he belongs. To see him in navy and orange would be more than a signing. It would be a declaration that the Bears are finally willing to invest in the future, not just patch holes for the present. So let me put it to you again. Bears Nation, is Azeez Ojulari the missing piece, the ignition switch that transforms this defense from merely good to legitimately feared across the league? Could his name one day be etched alongside Urlacher, Briggs, Dent, and Mack, forming the next chapter of a lineage that defines what it means to play defense in Chicago? Or is this just another off-season mirage, another headline we grasp because it feels right, because it gives us hope, because it allows us to believe that polls in this front office are as ambitious as we are. Only time will answer. But your voice matters here. Your roar isn't just background noise in a stadium. It is the heartbeat that echoes through Hollis Hall. It is the pressure that shapes decisions. It is the soul of this franchise. And right. Now Chicago's roar has never been louder, never been hungrier, never been more desperate to be heard. Speak it, believe it, push it forward, because speculation becomes reality only when a city refuses to let go. And Bears Nation, this city is ready.